Hello guys, it's me, Greed here, and today I want to talk about McCree because I think the way he's currently balanced is, iffy would be the word for it. Now, McCree back in the day was a character that I actually thoroughly enjoyed, even as a Genji player. I actually really enjoyed playing as him and against him because I felt as though his value and his impact was placed in a healthy area for him particularly. For example, back then he was a glass cannon aim character. He shot a lot faster. His damage was the same, but because he shot faster, he could obviously output more damage, but his health bar was lower, his hitbox is just as big as it is now, so he could get dove, and his only anti-dive tool was his Flashbang, because roll didn't have damage resistance, and you couldn't roll in the air too, which really limited his options, especially for dodging and so on. So, why is it that today I think McCree is a cancerous character and just relatively corrosive on the game in general? What happened between 10 years ago when I thought this character's pretty cool, I like him, he's balanced, and he's good for the game, to now where I think, I don't like him, I don't think he's good for the game, and he does need some serious changes. So let's take this in order of how McCree used to be, what the fundamental gameplay changes occurred that changed the way he operated, and the individual changes to McCree that made him as corrosive as I say he is. So, McCree back in the day was a lot more simpler than he is now. He had roll, he had flash, he had deadeye, and he had his gun. Exactly the same as he is today, but they all operated slightly differently. Now, there was a period of time where McCree actually shot a lot faster, his range was a lot longer, so he could shoot people from farther away, his roll couldn't be used in the air, and it rolled for shorter, and it didn't give you damage resistance when you rolled. He also had Flashbang, which operated differently. It wasn't a hinder, it was just a raw stun that stuck you in place for, I believe, a half a second or so. And Deadeye is no-name garbage that we don't talk about. And obviously it Fan the Hammer, which is a mess. So all of these things must have affected his playstyle, right? Well, yes, they did, massively. McCree was more of a solo kind of character. You would run off, get on an off angle, shoot people, you'd want to go for the 1v1, or you could potentially be played as slightly anti-dive, partially, but not entirely because Flashbang and Roll were not necessarily anti-dive tools. They were more 1v1 tools, meaning he had the weakness of, although being extremely lethal, he was limited by his mobility and inability to deal with multiple targets. And I thought this was an extremely healthy weakness for the character. He was a mechanical-based hero that didn't feel like cheese because he had the apparent weakness of being so that he could not run away from things, meaning if you forced him into a fight, he had to win it, and that was it. That was his only choice, was win the fight. This was an interesting kind of character. He was a 1v1 based character that did not have the option of closing the distance on you, or getting away from you if you close the distance on him. This made him extremely fair. You chose when you got into a 1v1 with him, and you chose when you got away from him. Most of the time, depending on your character, obviously. But this is what made his lethality fair. He was able to output extreme lethality, but it was extreme lethality under the guise of not being able to control when that lethality could be applied in some cases if you were paying attention to him, diving him, getting him off angles, chipping him, and so on. He was much fairer back then. However, he obviously had the downside of the only avenue of winning being through sheer mechanical ability, which is not something I necessarily support. It's the reason I don't like Widowmaker and Sojourn, because they are characters that are basically just, if you can click people, well then you win, and if you can't click people, well then you lose. This is not interesting. I like when there are multiple avenues for winning. It's why I like Genji. You can play the super hyper aggro 1v1 Genji that's permanently in the enemy backline, or you can play the extremely boring and lower brain activity style of map control / poke Genji. You can do it. It's fair. I like that you have those options, but McCree didn't really have those options. You were the off-angle slave. You are the win your 1v1 slave, and that's really all the way you had to win. Now, going forward, when Overwatch 2 released, a big problem started to occur with hit scans in general. The move to 5v5 meant that there was more space on the map by default. There's one less character on each team, 2 less characters total. That's 2 less people running around the map, therefore 2 less people contesting angles, playing angles, supporting their team, doing whatever they may have been doing beforehand, right? And because of that, since hit scans had an easier time accessing space and less time being punished for it, because there were less people to do that, it meant that they were insanely oppressive because there were so few options at shutting them down. Obviously, this is a 5v5 problem, not a problem with the majority of the hit scans. I mean, it was a problem for Widowmaker because fuck that character, but you know what I'm saying. And it kind of fucked over McCree. It put him in a weird spot where his anti-dive ability was too strong because, like I said, it's a 1v1 tool, not really anti-dive, and because there are less heroes on the enemy team, there are less dive heroes potentially going for the McCree himself, and if there's less heroes going for the McCree himself, it's more likely to be a 1v1, and if it's more likely to be a 1v1, then he's more likely to win because his tools are 1v1 based, meaning that the move to 5v5 didn't just give him more space, it gave him more access to the things he was already incredibly good at. And because he had Fan the Hammer and Flashbang at the time, they got moved to Magnetic Grenade, which was unbelievable cancer. They made him even worse because they would throw the Magnetic Grenade on you, it'd do a shitload of damage, they would Fan the Hammer, you couldn't run away, you couldn't do anything about it, you were stuck, you were hindered, you were donezo. And it was pretty boring. Now, Hinder didn't exist back then initially, so they just made it do a fuckload of damage, which was not a good decision, but that's the one they made. So McCree at this time period was exceptionally AIDS to play against because he was basically a 1v1 bot that you couldn't put in a situation that wasn't a 1v1, meaning he would just win for free basically every time. He was Mag Grenade you and Fan the Hammer you. It was a massive deterioration of his prowess and his mechanical potential because the easiest path of winning was me Fan the Hammer. You know, why would I do anything else? I can insta-kill you with Fan the Hammer. Why the fuck would I bother clicking you and potentially missing? I'll just blow you up with Fan. Right, that's a big problem. So they end up doing a bunch of changes to McCree. They change his range so that he can't poke as good. They change Mag Grenade. They change all this stuff. They give him even more health because he gets bumped up again. And then he gets damage resistance on roll because, oh, well, now he's too diveable and stuff because he doesn't have an off-tank to protect him, meaning that if he's in the 1v1, it's too strong, but if he gets dove by, like, 4 players, he's definitely dead because there's no off-tank anymore. 5v5 was really showing its flaws here. So they had no idea what to do with this character, and they didn't know what to do with this character until Season 9, where they really showed that they didn't know what to do with this character. With the release of Season 9, it meant that because everyone had higher health bars, it meant that McCree had to land more shots in their target. But huzzah! The hitboxes are bigger, meaning it's easier to shoot people. So, you're having an easier time shooting people, but it's doing a lower percentage of their health bar with each shot, meaning you have to shoot them more. Your mechanical ability is not being rewarded as much. You might have been hitting the same shots as you were hitting prior to Season 9 when the hitboxes were smaller, but your reward for hitting those shots is in fact doing a smaller percentage of their health bar, meaning your mechanical ability isn't as rewarded, like I said. And because of that, it meant you had to use a higher percentage of your magazine capacity, which were 6 bullets in your revolver cylinder. It meant that you had to use more of those bullets shooting people, so a higher percentage of the potential bullets in your gun. Meaning a miss meant way more for McCree as well, because, well, you had to reload more, and reload time is a big deal when you don't have a lot of bullets. It's also a big deal when people have higher health bars, and therefore have more time to run away, use a cooldown, get a heal, get a health back, run to their team, get around a corner, kill you, do whatever, because they've just got more time. This really fucked over McCree pretty substantially, because although you were obviously less rewarded for your mechanical ability, you were also just not really rewarded for your mechanical ability at all, because even when you shot people, it really didn't do all that much, and also you had no range at this point anymore, which meant you had to play close to people, and then because left-clicking didn't really do anything, you could kinda only just Fan the Hammer, so it just became a Fan the Hammer on the tank slave, which was really bad, because It's just the antithesis of no skill. It's the lowest effort thing you can do for the most value. So McCree went from being a hero that was the mechanical character, the 1v1 hero, the fair hit scan hero, and he turned into the low skill, no brain, minimal IQ, right click bot, because he wasn't allowed range because of 5v5. But he needed anti-dive tools because he was too diveable because he had no off-tank to help him. But then he was also really good at surviving dive from 1v1 characters because he's a 1v1 hero. So in scenarios where you were getting dove by 2 people, you were dead, and 1 person you won for free, which is boring. They really mutilated this hero. And that is really sad because he used to be so good, and he is fixable. You just have to get rid of 5v5. No, obviously that's too simple of a solution. So, get rid of Season 9. That's also too simple of a solution. Those are cop-outs. How do we fix him in the current state? How do we make it so he's fair in 5v5 and fair after Season 9? That is almost a physical impossibility, but we're going to try. First of all, remove the lethality from Fan the Hammer. It shouldn't exist in his kit anymore. It's already outdated. It was outdated back then. It's extremely outdated now. Silver Bullet, the perk, actually good design. It's got its flaws, and it's, obviously those flaws are bad, but at least it's better than Fan. I would take Silver Bullet over Fan. It's mechanical reward, it makes his kit more interesting because you have more options, and it's not the antithesis of low skill because the operations it can be used in require at least some level of skill gap for it to be applied. Plus, it gives you a lot of avenues of winning because it is a level of chip damage. So if you're not that mechanically inclined, hitting your Silver Bullet shot is a big deal because it's that level of chip damage that might force someone out of an angle that you may not have been able to do because of your lower mechanical ability. Therefore, giving you another avenue of potentially winning in some way, which is pretty good. Fan the Hammer is obviously cancer, that's gone. Flash is an interesting one. I would almost say to revert it to its original concept in Overwatch 1 where it was a stun, but that wasn't perfect either, and again made him too good in the 1v1, but too shitty in the 1v2. So it has to be replaced with something. You kind of can't just leave it how it is now, because Hinder is, cancer would be the word for it. However, I don't know what you would replace it with. This is kind of my issue. It's such a core part of his kit that you would have to justify getting rid of it with something really big and well balanced and designed well, but I haven't thought about it for long enough to be able to say what the perfect thing would be. So, because of that, reverting it to its Overwatch 1 design does actually make a lot more sense than keeping it how it is now. Obviously, Hinder, the way it works, is it's basically original Flash, but it's got less harsher penalties for being hit by it, but also those penalties last for a longer period of time to make up for the fact that they're not as harsh. Now, a big reason Flash was so bad, and a big reason why Hinder is so bad, is Fan the Hammer. But if we go with my other idea of just getting rid of Fan the Hammer and replacing it with Silver Bullet, well then you've basically gotten rid of the actual problem with Flash in the first place. Still an anti-dive tool, still a 1v1 tool, still a don't go near me button, but it's not a get off me button, which is good. It's a don't go near me button, not a get off me button. That's an important distinction. And it's also just better design in general, because it means that, well, you know what it means, right? You're intelligent enough nonetheless, right? But obviously, there are other problems in McCree's kit. Firstly, it's the fact that he's got 6 bullets. Now, this is going to be a difficult thing to change, because you kind of need him to have more bullets, right? Like, his bullets being 6 is a big deal. You need to have 4 of your 6 shots to kill someone at perfect range with body shots with 6 bullets. Meaning that it's a physical impossibility to body shot 2 targets in 1 magazine. That is a problem, I would say, because it severely limits his actual lethality. Because even if, let's say for example, you hit 4 shots and kill a guy, you 2-tap that guy to the body, and then you reload your gun, and then he's already gone. Well, that's not necessarily a problem, because you've gotten the value of killing the guy. However, it does limit your potential skill expression. So my solution to this, just make it 8 bullets. Just give him 8 bullets. You honestly don't even need to remodel the gun if you don't want to, because no one's going to care that much. Just give him 8 bullets. It's fine. He needs it after Season 9. If you're not going to get rid of Season 9, then he needs extra bullets. Another thing he needs is more range. Because of the fact we're making him easier to die, we're making it so he's more stuck in the 1v1 when he gets thrown into it, it means that he needs more range to be able to choose when and where he might potentially get 1v1'd, right? He needs to be able to dictate where those things might occur, and obviously the benefit of that is that he can choose if he gets dove or not. It adds more skill to the character. You are more glass, but you are also more cannon. So, if you want to utilize your cannon ability, get ready to also have to utilize the fact that you're made of paper mache when you get dove. This is better. Another thing is roll. Now, roll in its current state is actually fine for the most part. Back in the day, you couldn't roll while you were in the air, and this made him feel really fucking clunky, to be honest. So I'm actually okay with keeping him being able to roll while in the air, simply because it just feels way better for the McCree player to be able to do that. Plus, it adds some interesting dodging dynamics, it adds some cool movement techs, and so on, and I like those things, so we would keep them. However, we have to remove the damage resistance from the roll. Being able to tank a pulse bomb, which I don't think he can actually do anymore because of the HP decrease, which was a really good change, and I love the devs for doing that. Thank you very much. But it's still kind of lame to be like, I'm shooting you, I'm shooting you, I'm shooting you, I'm shooting you. Oh, you pressed roll. There's no possible way I could have predicted the roll. There's no possible way you could have predicted I was going to shoot you while you were rolling. Therefore, you didn't really intentionally block that damage or anything. You didn't really intentionally do some skillful thing where you've applied the damage resistance at the perfect time. You just kind of did it because you needed more bullets or you needed to get away or for what anything. It's just kind of like added on value to the roll. The roll's already got enough value as is. It reloads your gun, it moves you, and so on. It doesn't really need to give you damage resistance as well as that. But, you know, I would get rid of the damage resistance, but I can understand the arguments for having it, and the arguments are dumb. Anyway, his ultimate ability. What do we do? Deadeye is a really interesting concept. I think Deadeye is fantastic. I understand it. I get it. It's the cowboy thing. You're stood there, you're drawing, you're building up Deadeye like Red Dead Redemption. You pull it out, you shoot people. It's fucking cool, right? It is objectively a cool ultimate. But again, it's extremely outdated. The new modern Overwatch is mobility, moving everywhere, denial, sustain, all of this. McCree's ultimate is stand there, look at people, be shot in the brain, and die, which is pretty lame. So, my change for his ultimate, although keeping it the same isn't necessarily problematic, and I actually quite like the way it operates to some degree anyway. I don't like the damage resistance on it, but I understand why it exists, especially in 5v5. But honestly, I would give him think like Torbjorn Overload, like he shoots faster, he reloads faster. Maybe that's where he makes the fan the hammer stance where he can shoot super fast or something. Maybe not like fan the hammer speed, but you know what I mean, right? He'd go like that kind of mode where he runs around and he just shoots faster. Maybe he gets some overhealth or something. Maybe he gets overhealth for shooting people. Maybe he gets overhealth for in a limb. Something like that. Something more interesting that makes him more of a walk around, shoot people, 1v1, mechanical, let's actually engage kind of character. More than the current, I poke you to death and if you come near me, I blow you up with Hinder. Because that's just kind of how the character is right now. But those are my ideas. They might be wrong, they might be dumb, they might be silly. Please tell me if they are. I love you all. I hope you have a good day. I hope McCree becomes a cool character again, because right now he's like, goodbye, 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 I love you all, goodbye, 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 goodbye.